W0RMT, Colorado HD. Sorry for the slightly late start, everybody. I just got back to the machine here. I just started the live stream here, and if you want to, or somebody's there, if you want to check that and see if it looks and sounds okay, I would appreciate that. Alright, while Aaron's doing that, we can go ahead and get the show on the road. Only 50 seconds late by my clock, so. Alright, welcome everybody that's listening. This is W0RMT. My name is Bud. I'm activating the Colorado HD net on talk group 31088. This net is weekly on Fridays at 7:30 Mountain Time on Very Much So Talk Group 31088. The purpose of our net is to discuss hotspot technology for digital radio, to promote DMR and digital radio in general, to facilitate the buying and selling of gear, and to have fun. Any and all stations are welcome to check in, and this is an open net. My name is Bud. I'm in Louisville, Colorado, and I will serve as tonight's net control. Let me drop it real briefly and see if Aaron was able to, or anybody was able to check on the live stream and see if that's up. Alright, it looks like we're up there, and hopefully the audio is okay tonight. I mute that on my end. So, while we're doing that, checking on that, let's talk about how we run the net. If you haven't joined us before, we run this net a little bit differently than most. We don't start by taking a list of check-ins. We have 4 parts to the net. In the first part, I start by posing a question or topic for discussion, and then anyone who has something to contribute in response to that is welcome to check in by keying up the radio for 2 seconds, and then unkeying. No voice transmission is necessary. I'll just read or log the stations off my dashboard, and then call on those stations in order to respond to the discussion topic or question. In the second part of the net, we'll ask for anyone who has a question of their own. Again, no voice transmission is necessary. You just key up, I'll read the call signs on the dashboard, and then we can go through the lists. Alright, then in the third part of that, we'll go around and see if anybody's got stuff to sell or who is looking for something. It's our little swap meet portion of the net. And then finally in part 4, we take general check-ins for the count. So if you just want to hang out and listen, that's great, and check in for the count. Hang around till the end, and you can key up, and we'll check you in at the end. But we don't do a normal round of check-ins at the beginning. So again, when we do the round of check-ins at the end, no voice transmission is necessary. You just have to key up, and we'll get you on the list. Let me drop it just for a sec before we get started here. W0RT with the Colorado HD net. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the first part of the net. So tonight's topic of discussion is mobile hotspot installation and use. So a number of folks I know have either permanent or semi-permanent or very portable kind of hotspot installations set up in their vehicles. So I thought tonight we could spend some time talking about how people set those up in their vehicles for either daily use or use on trips or portable use. So what are your practices? What are your ideas? What are your questions about setting up and using your hotspots mobile in your vehicle or away from home. So that's the topic of discussion tonight. And I've got some ideas, some things, some further questions we can talk about. But if you've got some thoughts or examples, stuff you want to talk about from your own use, if you could go ahead and key up now, I'll get you on the list and we'll go through the list to discuss mobile hotspot use tonight. So go ahead and key up now. All right, we got one so far in 9KRG. Good evening, Jake. Haven't talked to you in a while. It's good to see you. W0NT.
If I need to get out of the car, I actually got a little adapter. Main mount antenna. Really haven't tested out the main mount a couple months. It's actually pretty good. And actually, I learned the hard way the last month sometime. I actually finally, well, last month I finally enabled tire remote. I was just unplugged the power. My car can't come up pretty quick. I learned my lesson and enabled my car remote now. Private call program to the radio. Shut down the number. So. But yeah, so that's what I'm currently doing for mobile. That's it. I hook up the main antenna. Seems like I can go pretty far distance with it. So, other than that, we'll send it back to you for midnight here.
All right, thanks, Jake. Thanks for those comments. Yeah, a couple good things in there. One is if you're using a Pi-Star-based hotspot, definitely using Pi-Star Remote. And a couple other comments on that in a sec. That's certainly the way to go with shutdown and reboot if necessary, once you get that set up. And then external antennas, I know we've talked about that in the past too, setting up little mag mounts on those. And seeing what kind of range you can get. A few of us at least are using these Anker batteries. I'll put one up on the live stream here. I've got mine right in front of me. It's Jimmy in Sudden VDR told me about this one. I think it's 22,000 milliamp hour. It's pretty big. It's an Anker battery. And this thing will run a jumbo spot for days. So if you're on the live stream now, you can see this Anker. It's got 2 ports. For power out, a smart charging port, the IQ, and then a regular one, and an input for recharging the battery. But battery power is another topic to consider for sure. So, all right, thanks, Jake, for your comments. Let's see who else out there is going to tell us about their mobile hotspot use or has some ideas or questions about it. If you're interested in chiming in on that, go ahead and key up now, and I'll get you on the list. W0NT. All right, it seems to be pretty quiet this evening. Maybe last week's non-net scared some people off. I was just checking the Telegram group. ham radio DMR nets to see if we got an S in there, and I don't see us in there tonight, which is interesting because we have been in there in the past few nights. But anyways, some further thoughts on mobile hotspot use. One thought is what I've really taken to using are the little jumbo spots. There's a couple of them I got on my desk right now that you can probably see. And I know if Jim's in there N7 VDR, he can tell us about his setup, but these have been my kind of go-to mobile hotspot use, is putting one of these either in my backpack or just on the console in the car, powered up and tethered to the cell phone. They're so small, they don't need to be Raspberry Pi here at home. And I just take the Pi Zero based jumbo spots with me mobily, or for mobile in the car or portable or whatever. But, yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering if people had ideas or comments on how they've set them up in their vehicle. If you have Wi-Fi in your vehicle that's not cell phone based, or if you've got one semi-permanently mounted in your car, if you're doing something differently. That would be interesting to know about how people are using them specifically in mobile. Do you have one dedicated to your car, different than the one dedicated to home, etc., etc.? So if you use one mobile, if you've got thoughts on that, I appreciate you sharing your experiences with us. Go ahead and key up, and we'll go around with this. Alright, there we go. We got a few that time. We got N7 VDR, N7 EAL, and N5 PI. Let's go through this and hear what people have to say with respect to their mobile hotspot use. We'll start with Jimmy, N7 VDR. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, good evening, Bud, to the net. Yeah, I've actually run two of the jumbo spots in my vehicle. But I thought I took a picture of that setup and sent it to either you or Aaron at some point, but for the life of me, I'm not finding those pictures. I was hoping to find some something to you and then you could put it out on the live stream. But at any rate, I got two of them mounted on my dashboard. One for D-Style and one for BMR. Once it's looking for photos. But in any rate, yeah, I have both of those and I'm just using a little 90-degree antennas that came with my dual spot board, because I've got those hooked up to those little magnet antennas. But yeah, it works really good with just those little antennas inside the truck. I don't usually stray too far from my truck. And then I'm using one of those anchor batteries like you just showed in the live stream here a couple minutes ago. But that's what I'm doing, and it works pretty good. D-Star one right now has no display on it, which kind of sucks, but that should be rectified here soon in a couple of days. Anyway, still looking for the photos if you all find it before I do. Anyway, that's all I got. Back to you, bud. N7 VDR, 4 columns.
0RMT. Okay, thanks, Jim. Yeah, I was showing on the live stream the antenna in the jumbo while you were talking. The 90-degree SMA antenna is kind of nice, and If Jim, I looked through my text, Jim, I didn't see it, so I think you sent it to me in an email, and I didn't dive in there while you were talking. Since I have a couple of these, I've put a piece of blue painter's tape on the outside that I've just written on. You can see on the live stream maybe what the host name of the hotspot is and the frequency and what I've got it set up for. So for this one right here, this is my DMR jumbo spot, freaks on there, and the host name, and the D-Star one I've got labeled differently, so you can see that, so I can keep them straight because they look the exact same to each other. But this is what Jim's got set up, 2 of these in his truck. If he finds that picture and sends it over, we'll get that on the live stream too. But yeah, it's pretty handy mobile setup, and I really like the way that Jimmy set his up on his dash. It's very unobtrusive and ready to go and easy to take out. So thanks for sharing that, Jim. We'll get that picture up in a little bit so people can see it. All right, next on the list, keyed up N7 EAL. Neil, welcome. What have you got to share with us this evening? Go ahead.
Hey, well, good evening, bud. Anybody else in that? And I usually carry a jumbo slot. I first had a meeting that day a couple of years ago. For the, kind of with the car passengers, the ankle battery. Later I know, like, Texas, but then once I got the jumbo spot, I started carrying that. First jumbo spot I got was back when it was a ceramic antenna. It is the one case. It has the punch out for the antenna hole. The antenna hole is still there, vertical, not punch out. It has no punch out for windows, it's a little slot. So it's a version that didn't have the oil. I kind of actually almost like not having oil. I think it's a little battery, and it's so small, so hard to read that I get better information. So I'm kind of glad that with the kind of early jumbo version that was ceramic antenna, and otherwise the case is has no top window. Obviously, I'm worried about these overshooting, especially in the summer. Something California, Colorado. But what I usually do is I found a little anchor battery, kind of like a lipstick size one, and a little Velcro strap, and I just Velcro strap that together with the jumbo spot, and I have like a little 6-inch USB cable to power it, and that's less than portable solution. And then my latest one portable, but that's going to the box. Spot. I carry that sometimes, but with a 3D printed case, I think it's like somewhere. That protect that.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Yeah, good points. Some of the jumbo spots have come with those ceramic antennas and not the external SMA on there, but it's interesting to mention still have the punch out there, and I'm sure the ceramic works fine for close proximity, but that is a really good point about using a small battery too. And as you were talking, I dug one out of the junk drawer. I'm showing on the live stream now. It's sort of freebie I got from work, but I'm haven't used this with the hotspots, but that's a really good idea to use it because you can see that this particular battery is pretty much the size of the jumbo spot. So, and these things consume so little power that this little battery would probably work pretty well for a while. So I might experiment with that instead of that big anchor, which is really overkill for a day's use. with the Jumbo Spot in my experience. So thanks for reminding me of using those smaller batteries. I want to see what this one can do. It was just a work freebie. You can find these things around anywhere. I'm not sure what the capacity is or anything, but it's probably a cool idea. Yeah, and I don't have the ceramic antenna on the board for any of my jumbos, but I know that's definitely an option with some. So good to know about that. But thanks for chiming in. I appreciate your comments. Let's go to next on the list is N5DI John. Good evening, John. Thanks for joining us. And what have you got to share with us this evening? Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody on this. Thanks, John. All thanks. River 5 Pop Engine. I'm located in Burton, Arkansas, southwest Arkansas. And this is my first time on the top bridge.
Okay, John, welcome on in. Yeah, you, I don't know if you dropped out or if you ended your transmission, but welcome. You're certainly welcome to jump in anytime, join us here, even non-net time for a pretty friendly group, but glad to make your acquaintance. So do you use your hotspots mobile at all? Do you have any experience set them up in your car, or if you do, what's that look like? Go ahead.
I always use a mobile and Anchor battery and like this 4 volts really okay.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, appreciate your experiences there. Jim sent me over a picture. I don't know how well I can show this without. It's on a different computer that the webcam's on, but let me see if I can. If you're looking at the live stream, you can see a picture of Jimmy's setup. Jim, why don't you talk through it while I kind of try to show it in the live stream if people can see it. N7 VDR W0RT, you want to describe your mobile Jumbo Spot setup? Over.
Okay, yeah, that actually looked pretty good when you had it up the bigger picture. I can see it fairly decent, but I think you had it in closer a minute ago. I don't know how you done that, but anyway, yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that one there. That's the one that I use on DMR Brandmaster, and they're not powered on right now. It's after I couldn't find the picture, I ran out real quick. Snapped that one. That's the DMR one, and the one down below is the D-Star one. They both work good. All you do is turn the hotspot on my phone, then plug them in, and they connect. And the reason why that one is upside down is this window comes on it. So that way it's the way around. I noticed that there's enough room and I can mount in the same direction. And I used a piece of it's a 3M command strip. I stuck part of the half of it to the back of that and the other half to my dashboard. Took it right off, and then I got a couple of 90-degree universal micro USB cables. Those plug in either direction. Those are really awesome. Got those off of Amazon. And there you have it. I've got those are in my 2007 FJ Cruiser on the dashboard there, right next to the driver's side door. So yeah, it works good, man. I love it. That's exclusively how I operate mobile. I haven't tried to hook up my little magnet mount antennas that I got to it, but I may try that soon. Anyway, that's all I have. Back to you, bud. N7 VDR.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Yeah, it's good. That's a good picture. Um, it's pretty slick. I saw it in Jim's setup. I made the picture smaller. If you guys can see on the live stream now, both hotspots, you can see one mounted above the other, and the power cords go up to the Anker battery, which is up in a little compartment on top of Jim's dash. But it's a pretty slick looking setup. They're so small, they stick on really easily. It's unobtrusive, and that spot on your dash, Jim, is almost like it's made for it because it's just kind of a blank spot on the left side of your gauges there, and that's really slick looking. And that's the nice thing about those jumbos; they're so tiny, they just will stick right on there. And if you're watching, I've got your replacement jumbo right here in the bag for the one that whose display doesn't work. We got a replacement in the mail from the vendor. So if they can fix up that bottom D-Star one and make a display now. So thanks for sharing that picture, Jim. Appreciate it. That's a pretty cool setup. I want to stick something like that in the Pilot next time we go camping in a couple weeks. I'd like to put both jumbos in there, the D-Star and the DMR, so that I can use them kind of the same way. All right, so tonight's topic is mobile hotspot operation and setup. So if anybody hasn't chimed in yet, you do run your hotspots mobile, or if you've got a setup in your car that's kind of not permanent but semi-permanent or flexible, or if you've got some tips or tricks or even questions about running your hotspots mobile in your car, go ahead and key up now and we'll get your comments. W0RMT with the Colorado HDNet. All right, we got a couple more in there. Thanks, N7JJY George and 0WAR Aaron. Appreciate you guys keying up. George, do you have some comments or questions to share about mobile hotspot operation? Go ahead and chime in. W0RMT.
Good evening, Bud, and everybody. I kind of run mine in a container, in a mobile. It's kind of sitting at home right now, but I can just box everything up in like a Tupperware container and run away with it, throw it in the back seat of the truck, and it works quite well that way. My little thingy is I found out that if you have the small Olympus jetpack, it's a little round oval thing, kind of fits in the palm of your hand. That little puppy does get a little bit warm. I inadvertently set another open spot on top of it that I was not using. Totally brain dead thingy. The next day, I went to move it or something. I don't know what the heck I was doing, moved the open spot, and I kind of noticed the little jetpack looked a little funny. Okay, so I turned it upside down, and the bottom where the cover is for the battery, it popped open. So the battery actually swelled up. And I'm going to break real quick. Yes, so the battery expanded. It felt kind of mushy. Took it back to Verizon, said I need a new battery for this. They could not get me an answer. They sent me off to customer service. Talked with that guy for quite a while, and he finally came up and said, "Yep, I found two batteries. I'll ship them to you." Yeah, 2 days later, I got two batteries in the mail. They did not fit the Olympus jetpack. they were too long and the contacts did not fit together. Okay, so that being said, Wins Batteries Plus went to Interstate Batteries up here. Nothing, they couldn't even order anything, totally anything like it. So I went back to Verizon. I said, okay, I got an issue. Can't get anything. You guys can't get a battery? And they said, nope. Okay. So the little customer service gal went back and argued with one of the supervisors, I think down in Texas, and they were on the phone for over half an hour. And I was sitting there, what the heck's going on there? Can't get a battery? You kidding me? So she came out, she opened up another one, a brand new one, took the battery out of it, handed it to me, said, have a good day. I came home and found out that I could order one on Amazon. It's been a break. So I did find some on Amazon. I got them coming. The picture looks exactly the same as what I needed. I greatly appreciate what the little girl could do, and I really felt bad for her because I don't want her to lose her job because she took a brand new battery out of another one that they could have sold. You know, but that's just, you know, what do? You kind of feel guilty, but in a way, I was up near there, drove by the place once, and I said, nope, you know what, I paid that much money for all this service and everything for well over 15 years. I'm going to take the battery and run like crazy, so I am. That being said, maybe a lesson learned, not to put anything on top of there. I'm looking for a way now to maybe stick a piece of tin flashing or something. Maybe you can get at the hardware store, Home Depot, blah, 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 whatever. And maybe stick up, maybe take off that bottom cover so that the battery sits right on top of that piece of tin. Just to get some cooling effect going to the thing. Maybe even put it upside down so that the heat comes away from the battery. But yeah, that little puppy gets a little bit warm. You can hold it in your hand, but yeah, it'd make a great hand warmer in the wintertime. But just to kind of share that little experience. And like I said, this is the little round one that fits in the palm of your hand, not the great big touch screen one, but the little tiny one. So anyway, back to that. Thank you, bud. Everybody have a good evening. And so did you want to show you?
Okay, George, thanks for your comments. Yeah, that's a good point. It's like Neil mentioned earlier about being concerned about heat. You know, I haven't noticed with the Jumbos the actual board getting too hot, or the Raspberry Pi, but batteries are another issue altogether on either the hotspot or the either the external battery or on your internet hotspot or whatever you're using, especially in the summer months. So that's a good point about actually battery failing and expanding. I saw another thing about that recently. I'm trying to remember what it was about somebody I was talking to the other day. Their phone actually had the battery in their phone expanded and swelled and cracked the case of their phone. So that certainly can be an issue with overheating. So I guess it's probably good to have a couple batteries on hand, which probably most of us do anytime anyway. I have a couple of external batteries I usually have in my backpack at any one time when I'm out and about. So if one fails or dies, I can use the other one. But heat certainly can be an issue, especially in the mobile environment. Cars get pretty hot, so heat management may be something to really think about what the strategies are for that with your battery power supply. So thanks for sharing that, George. Appreciate it. All right, next on the list was Aaron at 0WAR. Aaron, what have you got for us this evening? Go ahead.
Oh, hi to Bud and Annette, George, Jimmy, local group, and beyond anybody else out here beyond where we're at. Hello and welcome. Yeah, permanently in the war room here in the shack here. I'm on this one here, live streaming it on the other. Yeah, I was inspecting. I just dropped my GYT 380 battery. I was inspecting it. George is the second person that told me about that. So I haven't experienced. I only got one battery, a 380, but I've been inspecting it now. The EV by here told me about that. And yeah, I have a lot of fun. I'm taking the open spot mobile in Nebraska. It was awesome. I had E380 walking around abandoned houses with the Verizon Jetpack, the mobile nearby. It was awesome, man. I couldn't stop laughing. Actually, I got two of the dual spots. Haven't took those mobile yet. I think I'm gonna do one D star for mobile for my 71 window. So yeah, having a great time with that. Enjoying the heck out of that. I do one and all, and everything's cool here. And Loveland, Colorado. Back to netting 0WE or Loveland, Colorado.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, it's a lot of fun operating these things mobile. You know, my only problem the last couple of weekends of camping has been that wherever I've camped, I haven't had a cell signal, so I can't use my hotspots. But that's been the issue for me. There's been no service where we've been, or super sketchy, and I can't get my hotspots to actually, my internet hotspots actually provide anything, so I haven't been able to get on. So I guess it all depends on that. I gotta camp in some more civilized places, I guess. But yeah, it's tons of fun. You know, one day I actually experimented with just running the thing in my backpack as I was going to work, tethered to my cell phone, and it worked great. It was a lot of fun. It's totally concealed in the backpack, and you're just on the radio. And it's gonna be a lot of fun operating these things mobile or away from the home environment at the desk, like you see here. So. All right, anybody else want to comment on their mobile or even portable, I guess, hotspot operation? If so, go ahead and key up now. W0RT with the Colorado HTNet. N7 VDR, W0RT. Jim, got something else to add? Go ahead and jump in.
Okay, thanks. Actually, it's a question for George up in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I was wondering, I've been entertaining the thought of actually getting one of those jetpacks, but I'm not on Verizon. T-Mobile has one, but it doesn't, I don't know, I just like the looks of the jetpack better. With the plan you got, George, how much does it cost for the data? And I wonder if that's something that we could just get from Verizon without actually having a phone with them, because I probably wouldn't change my phone. But I've been noticing to keep my system up and going instead of starting and stopping it when I'm out and about doing errands and stuff, is that I end up leaving my phone in the car so it stays connected. I think I'm going to try to find a different solution for that, possibly. But anyway, is your data expensive? How much is it? Stuff like that. N7 VDR.
And 7JJY. Yeah, Jimmy, when I went up and asked them, I actually got an unlimited data plan. So yep, I'm like a high dollar roller. Actually, my bill was like $89 a month. $98 a month, excuse me. And I basically said, if anything, I want it to be under $100 a month, period. That's as much as I'm going to spend for a phone. And when I first asked about it, they said, okay, well, you have to buy the thing outright, but put it on a monthly plan type thing. I said, fantastic. Draw me up some numbers, let me know what. So it took her a little bit. She ran some numbers and everything, come up, and she said, okay, so besides the equipment, you'll have to pay for the equipment. I said, yeah, I understand. The data plan that you have unlimited. So we can just slide it in as a second line. And I'm going, well, that's cool. So it's actually costing me less per month. And I'll drop that back down to the I think it's $85 a month now. So it actually reduced my overall bill by a little bit. So I was totally happy about that. Okay, that being said, when I got the 5-star from Erin, I went back up there and said, okay, I need another one. This is really going to drop me in the tank on that. And she said, no, not really. Basically, you're just going to pay for the equipment again. No change in your what you pay a month. That's fantastic. So now I have my phone, which is an iPhone, or not an iPhone, an Android, and paying for 2 hotspots or 2 jetpacks, and I think it's like $85 a month. And I'm not complaining. I am nowhere near the end of my plan that's on those 2 devices. They're usually just sitting here operating pretty much full time, all the time. And I've not even come close to even 1 gigabyte of data. And I got 2 gigabytes on each one of them. So I'm looking at maybe a 0.7, something like that. So yeah, totally worth it, Jim. I'm thinking that they do the jetpack thingy, but unless they still find out or ask, I'm pretty sure it'd be pretty low. And I'm gonna break. Sorry guys, I'm getting long-winded. But at any rate, yeah, Jimmy, it might be worth it just to check on it. Okay, something I needed to add from before also is I was told with these jetpacks that you need to charge them up, but go ahead and unplug them every now and then. Mine was running 24/7 ever since I got it, basically. And I'm kind of wondering if that didn't work on the battery a little bit too. But they said once you charge them up and unplug them, make them work a little bit, get them to cycle a little bit. So that's another thing you can do to kind of help out with the battery issue a little bit too. Don't plug them in 24/7. Plug them every now and then, make them work a little bit. Alrighty. That being said, back to that. Thank you, bud. Thank you, Jimmy. And so thank you, Shane.
All right, thanks for that, George. Jim, and so do you have any follow-up questions for George or any further comments on that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a couple more questions if that's all right, but
Yeah, sure thing, Jim. Go ahead and ask George.
okay, so you got, I guess my first question is why did you have to get another one for your other hotspot? I believe those devices can take up to 15 devices. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Just one curious on why 2. And how many, you got unlimited data with that? Because that might be a fix for my crappy ISP here in the house. It's unlimited. I might kick the old not Comcast, but something like PSL is pure. Because T-Mobile's data is way faster. Anyway, yeah, I think that should do it for the second question, sir.
Okay, so I got an open slot I'm running one with. The second one, I got the 5-star from Aaron, got it operating on that one. The reason being is if I need to put one in one place and have one in another place, and to maybe go mobile or now I got two available. So then you could basically talk just unit to unit if you wanted to. You can do the private call thing. It's going to ring up a talk group and plug it in and make it work. But that was kind of my thinking too, is that if I needed to leave one someplace, I could. And I'd kind of go along the Aries racing stuff, so if I needed this to be at the EMA office and I still needed to go mobile with something, I still had a second one I could drop in the truck and take and go clear over into Nebraska if I needed to. The second question would be, I would do it, and I'm considering that also, Jimmy, because I have Century West here, and yeah, the internet, I'm guaranteed 1.5, and I'm getting about 0.7. No upgrades available. Alrighty, so that being said, I thought about just burning everything over and just making it go through the jetpack and do it that way. And it works quite well. I have tried it 2 or 3 times, so I am considering it. The only thing I'm kind of backing away from is if I ever needed it, I don't want to get rid of it because if my setups are both being used somewhere, then I don't have internet service here at the house. I do have it on the phone, okay, but I found out this morning that does not work when you're arguing with the disputed purchase. Anyway, I will let that be there. Alrighty, thanks.
All right, thanks, George. Jim, any other follow-up questions or comments inside the video? Go ahead.
No more questions. Appreciate the info on that, George. I may check into that. But back to my setup. Ultimately, my goal is to hardwire something into my truck toward turning off my truck battery so I can eliminate the anchor. And with a hotspot, or I guess it would be a hotspot as well. Wi-Fi hotspot. Running all the time, that way it stays running. And even with my truck parked in the driveway, I can access it from the house with my walkie-talkies. I got way too many hotspots, or maybe not enough. I guess that's all a matter of perspective. Ultimately, that's my goal, is to get something that stays running all the time in my truck to off of the starting battery of my truck. So I would definitely have to find an alternative way of getting internet, either via a jetpack or something else. Anyway, thanks for letting me jump back in there, but appreciate it. We'll let some other people get in there now. 73 and 7 meeting.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Yeah, that's the same kind of setup I was kind of eventually hoping for, is not a permanent, but a semi-permanent setup in the camper where the hotspots are always running off the camper battery and connected to the home Wi-Fi when it's at home. And then I can just access them, from inside the house. And then when we're out mobile, they would obviously be just tethered to my phone because I've already got a 5-volt setup off the 12-volt of the camper battery, but I just haven't done it yet. Then, of course, I got a camper place that has cell phone service. But yeah, that's I think an important, a cool goal to have it so it's just like seamless, so that it's always running in your mobile environment or whatever, and then you can just access it from whether you're sitting at your desk at home or as soon as you jump in the truck or whatever, or when you're at work, even in your truck's parked outside. So I think that's probably a pretty cool goal to aim for. So, all right, we kind of graded into part 2. Let's go ahead and move there now. So part 2 of the net is when we, if anybody has questions of their own, kind of talked about that anyway, but if there's anything related to hotspots and not necessarily about the mobile setup, or even if it is about the mobile setup, but if you've got questions tonight about your setup or something you need help with, anything that's on your mind, go ahead and key up now and I'll get you on the list and we'll go back around. So this is part 2 of that. If you have a question of your own, let me know by keying up and we'll get you on the list. W0RMT with the Colorado HDNet. Okay, we got a few that time. Thanks for queuing up, folks. We got W9QO, AF7FS, and K5MRE. So let's start at the top of that list. W9QO, what's your question for us this evening? Go ahead and pick it up.
Okay, bud. Good evening to you and everyone on the set. I had posed a question a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was no doubt now. I had a problem with the Motorola handheld and combo spot for open spot, TV magazine, whatever. The audio is going to full output on Motorola radios for no apparent reason. As it turned out, there was a simple fix. Even after I went to Motorola and purchased the RF and receive audio keys for each radio, it only affected the enhanced versions. I have a 3500 Echo and a 60R 7550 Echo. Turns out the problem was with those enhanced radios that these are called intelligent audio. If you simply turn that off, the problem disappears and everything works as it should. Just thought I'd pass that along to the group. Hopefully no one else has to go through the pain I went through for several months trying to figure it out. But that's the way it turned out. One other note, I also have an Opus jetpack that I bought from Best Buy. When I bought it, the only plan available was a $35 prepaid plan for 2 months. And that's a good plan, but I have yet to use over a half a gigabyte. They give you 2 gig for 2 months, and every month I waste a gig and a half. So I don't know whether that's a good deal or not, but thanks again, bud, and hope to be back on there again soon.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Yeah, I'm glad you got your problem solved, first of all. And hopefully other folks can learn from that too, the enhanced audio feature. So it's good that you sorted that out. Thanks for sharing that with us, and hopefully folks can take note of that if they're using Motorola radios. Yeah, and the second thing, yeah, it seems that we end up using very little data with these hotspots and things on our, of course it depends on how much you have your hotspot running and how much you're talking and everything, but I am constantly amazed at how relatively little data I use when I'm tethering my hotspots to my cell phone. And I know other folks have talked about how they've been running their equipment off their jetpacks and stuff and using relatively little data. So I guess the take-home message is you need to do some more surfing off your jetpack connection. But thanks for sharing that tonight, Mike. Appreciate it. And glad to hear you. All right, next on the list is AF7FS. Don, good to hear you this evening. Welcome. And what's your question for us? Go ahead.
else on the net. I was listening to the discussion about the jetpack and wondering if there's an advantage to using a jetpack compared to tethering from your phone. I usually use my hotspots tethered to the Wi-Fi on my phone, and I have a unlimited plan, and I use the tethering a little bit different. I use it as my primary Wi-Fi, so I also run my laptop and everything else from the Wi-Fi on the phone because I no longer have the wired Wi-Fi. So I actually, on a typical month, I could actually go up to 25 gigabytes or even more on my plan. So is there any advantage to using the jetpack? Back to you, Bob. AM7FS.
Okay, thanks, Don. You know, that's a great question, and I've wondered that as well because I tether off my phone for the hotspots, and I have not unlimited, but it's cheap because I use Google Fi as my provider, and I don't use a ton of data because I am on other Wi-Fi networks a lot of times. So that's a really good question. Like, what's the advantage? And I can't answer that. I can answer maybe one part of that. And one reason I would consider it is my current network with Google Fi as my cellular provider operates on T-Mobile and Sprint. And where I live here, if I go up in the mountains, I know Verizon has a much better network. It's got the best network coverage. So if I had a jetpack, I would have much better coverage when I go camping or skiing than I do with my current cell phone. So one reason I might consider it is because of coverage, but I'll let others chime in on the advantage of having I guess the question might be just a separate dedicated mobile hotspot instead of using your phone as a hotspot. So let me turn it back to the group. If anybody wants to jump in there, George or Aaron or anybody who has a jetpack and uses it, if you have a comment on why a dedicated hotspot like a jetpack is better to use than a cell phone, go ahead and key up and let's hear your thoughts on that. And 0WAR. Okay, Aaron, go ahead and jump in there and let us know what your thoughts are on why you're using a jetpack. See if you can address Don's question. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's see. Battery usage, not tying up your phone, even though it's multi-step. I was told when I got mine, I don't know if this is a sales pitch, it'll take a crappy signal and upscale it, kind of like, I don't know, some of these monitors, where it'll be a much better signal just going through the Wi-Fi or whatever through the
All right, thanks, Aaron. Thanks for your thoughts on that. Yeah, that makes sense. It would be interesting if, in fact, it did have a better signal than a cell phone hotspot. It's something worth looking into, but I think it's a good question, Don. Like, what's the advantage there? And so maybe other folks can think about that and chime in as well. It's something to research and see why a dedicated hotspot. One thing I was thinking is back to Jim's ultimate setup is, you know, if you have your vehicle is always sort of on or ready to go, everything's always online, that it has its own Wi-Fi. So I would like to see that as well. Like, I wouldn't have to worry about tethering into my phone, so everything was on. So if I was away from the vehicle, the hotspots would still be on. But yeah, it is a good question and something to think about. So um, let's continue to think about that. If anybody else has any other thoughts, then jump in there when you can. But let's get down the list to K5MRE Michael. Good evening and welcome to the net, and go ahead and jump in with your question or comment this evening. Go ahead.
Yes, this is K5 Memory. Yes, I've been trying to follow the whole thing about the duplex boards and stock transmit or mistransmit, especially with any which is what I have. And just kind of curious, I'd like to kind of confirm whether that's only happening with these nodes or whether that's happening with like the UV380s or some of the other radios. I'm considering swapping radios to see if there's a difference before the so you can check to see if the portals are having issues with the ports of those. So maybe that's another question for right.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Good question. We've talked about that a couple weeks ago, and it's still unclear, but I'll say my 2 cents, and then we'll see what other people have to say. So I've got two DMR HTs. I've got the Anytone, which I'm talking on now, and then I have a Terra TR7400, and both of them experience the this key ups problem with the BI7 JTA duplex board. And I know that other folks have tested various radios, Motorola, Hytera, and the MD380s. I don't know if anybody that I know, none in our close group has the new UV380 that I know of. But I'm pretty sure, you know, most all radios experience some miskey ups. Some seem to experience less than others, but the miskey ups of the stuck transmissions seem to occur with most radios. It seems particularly bad with the Anytone. So the Anytone seems to be the worst culprit, but I don't think there's any radio that performs flawlessly with the board. I could be wrong. Somebody may disagree and have a setup that works completely reliably, but it's my experience and with my own radios, and also with listening to others that I know are around here that have the boards, that various radios experience those same problems. So let me drop it for a second, see if anybody wants to chime in on that. But there are a lot of factors involved, but I feel like that it's more than just the radio. It's the combination of the radio and the board, and perhaps other radios and the board. So let me drop it and see if anybody else wants to jump in on the duplex spot and this key up issues with Anytone and other DMR radios. We have 7FS, W0RMT. Go ahead, Don.
Yes, hi, Bud and Annette. I actually had two radios that I was using side by side at nearly at the same time on a duplex hotspot. And one is a MD390, the other is a CS 580 Connect systems. The 390 didn't have any problems at all. Had some problems with his kills on the 580, and made some changes and high star. It got a little bit better, but for me, it seems like the 390 is working really well with it, with very few problems. So that's what I've experienced. AF7, that's back to that.
Okay, thanks for that information, Don. Yeah, you know, there was some information recently about the Anytone, and somebody posted in the Facebook group about how it only sends out one data burst when it's trying to initiate contact with a repeater, and the idea that it may not be getting an acknowledgement and locking onto the repeater with that one burst. With the new firmware, that same person confirmed that it was sending out 3 bursts of data, but it didn't change the behavior, and we still have the miskey up. So that sort of hypothesis about the number of data bursts it sends out to initiate contact, that didn't seem to bear out. So there's another idea that it has to do with this wake head period, which is how long those bursts are, and you can adjust that with CPS for the Anytone. But again, that didn't seem to fix it. So folks have worked on a lot of things, but I know that other radios do experience those miskey ups, and maybe some of them work completely reliably, like Don's experience with the 390, but I'm not sure. So I don't know what to say in terms of is there a radio you can get that will work completely reliably with your VI7 JTA duplex pod. Perhaps there is, but I know I've heard of a lot of experiences with other radios missing key ups as well. All I can say from my experience is that with the 2 DMR HTs I have, they both will experience the miss key ups. The Terra to it seems like a lesser degree than the Anytone, but it still misses. So I don't know what to say there. I too was thinking about, you know, the new UV380, the dual band one, trying that out, but I was going to kind of wait and see what other people's experiences are with that. So anybody else want to chime in on the duplex spot miskey up issue? Go ahead. And 7 VDR, Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that the miskey is only part of the problem too. There's a lot of other things that this board is doing that it shouldn't be. Which, and like you said, the different radios, different firmwares, all of this stuff changes things slightly every time you do something, and it's hard to really pinpoint where the real problem is. But I'm leaning towards the device itself because it the transmitter locks up. That's another one of the things that it does. And you know, it'll appear to be working as intended, and all of a sudden you don't hear nothing. Transmitters on it. Another thing that I've seen mine do, and other people just use it as well, is it'll transmit on both time slots ran at the same time. So I just think that, you know, beta testers have this stuff off this way. It is what it is. Awesome idea, and hopefully somebody produces one that works. As of now, mine has been dedicated strictly to Steve-Star because it works flawlessly there. And I don't really at this point have much hope for it being any better than it really is now. It's been out for a while and it's already working on other hotspots and the same things. That's just my opinion, and I wanted to throw that out there. Back to that. So,
Okay, thanks, Jim. Yeah, I think I have to agree with pretty much everything you said there. but the other issues are prevalent too, like the transmitter lock, um, and you know, the dual time slot transmission thing every now and then is problematic too. So we are beta testing this device the way I see it, and I'm still hopeful that somebody will get it sorted. There are a couple firmware updates haven't seemed to fix anything. In fact, recently Winter Schlong suggested going back to the base firmware instead of the latest, so we're not seeing any advances with firmware updates. I'm still hopeful that maybe the German board from DB9 MAT, Matthias, and also Florian, whose call sign I can't recall. I'm hoping that might be promising if we can get a hold of some of those as tested, but yeah, it seems like a tricky issue. And like Jim, my duplex bar right now is dedicated to D-Star because it works fine on D-Star. But I really wish it would work on DMR so I could have the 2 time slots. So I think that's where we are. I don't know what else we can offer. Certainly, I'll continue to experiment, and every time something changes, or I change the firmware on my Anytone or in the duplex spot, I put it back on DMR and play with it and see what I can do. Run it through its paces. I did that last week, I think, with 2.29a 2 weeks ago on the Anytone, and same story. So we are where we are on that right now. Right, anybody else have any other questions that they would like to ask before we move on to part 3 of the NAV? So key up now. W0M2 with the Colorado CNET. Okay, we got a few more. Let's go down the list. KB5, BUN. Good evening, welcome. What's your question for us this evening?
Yeah, Roger. KB5BUN. Wondering if you guys can help me with contact information. Bought a couple of Packers today, and was going to buy the duplex boards off of Amazon. Realized that they were considerably higher. I was wondering if I could get a little help with contact information to order directly to each other.
Yeah, so there's a number of them on eBay, but the ones that most of us I think are using come from BI7JTA, and his direct contact information is his call sign at gmail.com. I just looked it up, so BI7JTA, Bravo India 7 Juliet Tango Alpha at gmail.com. And the way we've all purchased ours is direct email with him, and then direct PayPal to his address for a specified amount, and he ships it to you. So that's the board we're using. I know there are some other, I hesitate to say knockoffs, because there are other boards, let's put it that way, because one might argue that Huang's board is also a knockoff. But we're working with the one from BI7JTA, and you can email him directly at BI7JTA at gmail.com. Does that answer your question? Oh.
Yeah, Roger, very much appreciate it. I am going to ask one more question. I know about the hang-up problems in any terms. Anybody had any experience with these boards with the let's say, convection boards?
I have not, but let me throw it out there and see if anybody else is using a HD1 with the BI7JTA board. It's something I've thought about as well when I look at the myriad of DMR radios available. So anybody out there using an HD1 with the BI7JTA board and have any experience with that, go ahead and chime in. hooked up a zero into with Colorado HCNet. Well, it does not seem so. Nobody jumped in. Any issues, or if it seems to play pretty well, that would be a good thing to note. And you may, if you're on Facebook, you may jump into the Nano Hotspot Blue Box group, which is where folks discuss the BI7 JTA duplex board, and see if anybody there is using the HD1 with it and has any comments on it. It might be interesting to know if that radio is playing with it very, very well. Alright, thanks for jumping in this evening. Don, AF7FS, you keyed up again. What's on your mind, Don?
Yes, I wanted to add on and comment on the aforementioned issues about the duplex hotspot, like, transmitting on 2 time slots. I had that happen once on one radio. Haven't had it happen on the other. But I was thinking of some of the other possible variables, some that were mentioned, but some of the other ones I was thinking of was the antenna, short antenna versus long antenna. Distance from the hotspot. I think maybe some problems were when I was too close to the hotspot, like sitting at the desk and the hotspot is right there. And the other thing is some radios, when they're on low power, some radios are 1 watt, some are half a watt, and some could even be less than that. So, some cases maybe it's too much power going to the hotspot being too close. So, it could be a bunch of things. So when those things happen, maybe we could, make some changes in those things and see if that makes it better or not. I'm gonna be trying to do that myself. So that was my comment. AF7FS back to that. And thanks for doing that, bud.
Yeah, good comments, Don. And that's something I've always thought about. There are a lot of variables in this experimentation here, and we're not always controlling for them. A lot of times we're sitting at the desk, we're pretty close to the hotspot, we're running the radio on low power, which is still a watt or two, which is way too much for being a meter away from the hotspot. So, and I think I've tried to play with that a little bit, but it's hard to vary just one variable in the experiment. So I think there are a lot of factors, and that's why I'm not super confident in saying that everything's in the radio or in the hotspot or whatever. I don't know that any of us have done any really good controlled experimentation with all these different things, but so it certainly bears more study, I think, in terms of output power. It'd be nice if the Anytone, for example, had an extra low power set, right? And that might control for the overdriving the board on the receive side. But that's a very good point. There's a lot of stuff going on, so I think there's still a lot of room for experimentation and trying to figure out these problems. So I appreciate your comments there, Don. All right, N7EAL, Neil, you keyed up again. What's on your mind? Go ahead.
I've never even bothered trying it with my Anytone. But out of 4 empty
Okay, thanks for your comments, Neil. You know, and that's another set of variables that's hard to nail down, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of manufacturing variance in these radios. I mean, they're cheap radios for the most part that we use in the Anytones and the TYTs, and so I think, you know, your experience with 4 different radios shows us that some of them work well, some of them don't. So I think it's hard to control for that too. Like, what are the different tolerances in the actual radio build? Because one radio is not the same as the other, and that makes it really difficult to nail down what the culprit is. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's a fun world to play in, right? It's almost too many things to try to figure out. But thanks for sharing your experience. That's certainly helpful and brings to mind just manufacturing tolerances and the differences in the equipment. And on the board side as well. There's no reason to believe that every board is created equally. And I'm sure that's part of the issue we're up against too. So it's a case by case basis in some sense probably. All right, let's move into. We've been going for a while, so let's move into part 3 of the net and see if anybody got anything for the swap meet portion. You got anything that you're trying to sell or that you're looking to buy? Go ahead and key up now, and we'll see what you've got. W0RM2 with the Colorado HC net. Alright, we got 2 that time. KB3Z. Go ahead. KB3Z, W0RMT. If you've got something you want to list to sell or something you're looking to buy, go ahead and let us know. Over.
That's all. But thanks again.
Okay, Mark, we got your key up and we got a screeching squelch tail and not much else. Did you have something you wanted to tell us, or were you just checking in? Over.
Just checking in. Just shooting an Anytone D868 UV. That's all. Thank you guys for asking.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Got you on the list. Appreciate you checking in tonight. W1VAN, Ivan, good to hear you. If you got something to list for selling, go ahead and let us know. Over.
W1VAN. Duplex boards that we're talking about, the JCA duplex boards. They're also completely built with the enclosure case with the Nexium screen. Been on the keys on the QRZ for new help. It was taking pictures at that point. So W1VAN.
All right, thanks, Ivan. Yeah, so if you're looking to pick up one of the BI7 JTA duplex boards, go ahead and contact Ivan, W1VAN. His email's good on QRZ, and he can send you some pictures of some of his builds. He's got the boards built up in cases with the Nexium displays, and yeah, let him know. All right, anybody else got anything they want to list to sell or they're looking to buy? Key up now, and we'll let you have your moment. W0RT with the Colorado HCNet. Okay, we got two that time. First on the list, W4XEN. What do you have for us this evening? Go ahead.
Hello, Bud and Annette. I'm checking in also. I just tuned in. I have a Pine 64 single board computer that's similar to the Raspberry Pi. I've never really done anything with it, and was the plan to. It's a Linux board run self-nesting card. It's about $50 when I bought it. I'll probably let it go for 20. And my email is good on QRC, Whiskey 4 X-Ray Echo November at mstat.org.
All right, Caleb, thanks for that. If you're interested in a single board Raspberry Pi-like Linux-based computer, let Caleb know. W4XEN at mstat.org. His email's good on QRZ. Appreciate that, Caleb. Insert video or Jimmy, you got something for us tonight for buy or sell? Go ahead.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, I'm looking for a rapid drop-in chipper for a Kenwood THD74A. If anybody knows whether there's any available or has one they'd like to get rid of, please contact me. My call sign's good on QRZ as well. It's my call sign, N7BDR@yahoo.com. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Jim. So if anybody has a drop-in charger for the THD74 or knows where one is available, you should first contact me because I'm looking for one too, and then contact Jim. Yeah, we're both looking for one, but they seem to be out of stock anywhere. But if you do have one, or if you know where one's available, let Jimmy know. N7VDR@yahoo.com. Okay, let's move into the last part of the net. So if you've been listening and you just want to check in for the count, or if you haven't checked in yet, we'll get you on the list. Now's your chance to just get on the check-in list. So we won't do this in any particular order, but I see one in there. That was the last one I missed. But if you'd like to check in for the count, go ahead and key up now, and we'll get you on the list. W0RMT with the Colorado HDNet. Alright, I can pick three more off the dashboard. K1LHO, WD0AJG, and WD0HDR. Thanks for checking in this evening, folks. Anybody else want to check in for the count? Go ahead and key up now. Okay, last call. One last call for check-ins before we shut it down for the Colorado HT Weekly Net. I'd like to check in, key up now. Okay, this time we're going to close the Weekly Net. Please feel free to join us anytime on this talk group, as well as our other NoCo DMR talk groups. 3171 is our NoCo talk group. 31083 is the Colorado Severe Weather talk group, and 31084 is the NoCo Front Range Mountain talk group. Also, please don't forget about your local repeater infrastructure. If you're near us here in Colorado, visit www.w0dmr.net to learn about the NoCo system. We've also got some articles and blog posts on there. We'll be getting more content on there as well. w0dmr.net. And feel free to contribute your time and expertise and money to help maintain our awesome repeater system. Appreciate the check-ins tonight. There were 16 stations by my count on the net. Thank you for participating, and please join us again next week. And in the meantime, drop into 31088 anytime during the week, and we'd be happy to talk with you about hotspots or just about anything DMR related. So this is W0RMT closing the net at 21:01 Mountain Standard Time. Have a good evening. Sorry.
Can you like plug the fan in somehow?
Yes, I can plug the fans. Come here, your eyes are red. That's okay. Sissy wants to say you want to go to sleep, but
That's the VR. And I hear.
I'll come plug it in.